Hello, it's Dr. David Frederick. I'm coming to you from Scottsdale, Arizona, mid-February 2018. I want to tell you a little bit about some ways that you can find some flu relief. First of all, I would like to say if you do feel like you catch the flu, I think that it's a good idea to go to an urgent care or to see your doctor or even the emergency room if you feel really, really bad, just to get checked up, because the information I'm providing is mainly for you to use at home to help relieve you of the symptoms of the flu, but they're definitely not a substitute in any way for specific medical care that you may or may not need. Just remember, flu this year is very serious. Quite a few people have died already, people that were considered healthy. They died, and also a lot of children have died, so please just make sure you take care of yourself. First of all, what I want to share is some homeopathic remedies that you can use at home to help give you some relief of some of the symptoms of the flu, and they can even shorten the flu or decrease, the intensity of the symptoms. What I'm going to share with you is basically they're homeopathic remedies. They are actually medication, but they can be sold over the counter. You can usually find them in health food stores. You can go and buy them on Amazon Prime, or if you go to a homeopathic doctor, you could see if they could, give you the remedies that way. But so the first remedy I want to share, it's called aconite. Aconite is a great remedy at the beginning of the flu, just at the end, right in the beginning, when you start to feel that intense ache. The sort of hallmark of the flu is achy muscles, achy bones. You're exhausted. There's going to be less sinus, less cough, less sore throat with the flu. Those tend to be caused by those symptoms are caused by other viruses, but the flu, you're going to feel wiped out. You may have a fever, you may have chills, but you are going to feel achy. So the first remedy is aconite. This is a good remedy to take after you've been exposed to cold, dry winter air. It's when the symptoms come on very suddenly. The fever is intense, and you may feel intensely cold in your body, but maybe you have a sensation that one part of your body is really hot, and you probably can't get warm. You may feel anxious, you may feel restless since these symptoms come on. The pains may be intense, like a bursting or throbbing headache, fast pulse. Even though you're cold, you may feel worse from heat. You may feel worse around midnight or after midnight. And then the fever is, like I said, it's intense chilliness, sudden fever, and there can also be perspiration with the fever for aconite. So if you have those symptoms, you could go to the health food store, get some aconite, and take it. Just take 3 pellets dissolved under your tongue every half hour and see if that helps. The second homeopathic remedy is called belladonna. This is also similar to aconite, where the flu symptoms start very, very quickly and they're very intense. The head is hot, the face is red, the patient radiates heat from their body. So aconite, they felt cold, but they can also have a sense of heat in some parts of their body, whereas belladonna, hot. They, like, you go up to them, they feel hot. They can have severe headaches, like throbbing, pulsating, like with the heartbeat, knife-like pains. The headache can be maddening. Generally, people who would benefit from taking homeopathic belladonna are worse from motion, they're worse from jar or being pushed, or if they trip on a stairs or something like that, they're going to have more pain, like it could increase the headache or their just general sense of pain. And the interesting thing in belladonna is they're hot, they kind of radiate heat all over, but their hands and their feet may feel cold, which is kind of interesting. And then there can be also, with belladonna, there can be intense reaction to noises, touch, light, things like that. It can definitely aggravate the headache or make them feel worse in general. The throat is dry in patients who would benefit from belladonna, and they're better if they cover up, especially if they cover up their head. Another great remedy for the flu is also a homeopathic remedy that we use a lot for injuries when people feel bruised, sore, achy. That's why it's so good for the flu, is because it helps with the symptoms of feeling bruised, beaten, sore. In patients who would benefit from taking arnica, the head is hot while the rest of the body feels cold. They're dull mentally. They're completely out of it. You can ask them a question and they're just kind of like, and then it takes them a while, and then you ask them again, and they're with it. And they because they're sore, they don't want to be approached by others. They may not want you to touch them. The bed feels too hard. They can't get comfortable in the bed. The fourth remedy I'm going to talk about is called bryonia. This is great for when someone has the flu and they are worse from the slightest movement. They have the pains that the bryonia patient has are very, very intense. Even if they don't even want to breathe normally, they want to take short breaths, because if they do a normal breath, it's gonna, maybe they have a cough and it's gonna aggravate the cough, or it's gonna cause chest pain just from taking a normal breath of air. And then also, if you see a patient or if you have someone you're caring for and they all of a sudden become, have some of these symptoms that I just mentioned, but they become very thirsty for a lot, like they just guzzle the water, bryonia is a good thing to consider in a patient that has this presentation. Like I said, the patient that would benefit from bryonia has very intense pains. They're made worse from motion. The slightest motion makes them worse. Therefore, they're better if they just sit still. They want to sit still. They don't want to sit still out of so much weakness. They want to sit still because if they move, it hurts. They're going to be in pain already, but if they move, it's going to hurt much worse. And generally, the patient requiring bryonia, they can get really irritable. They want to be just left alone. And they can have dry lips, dry mouth, dry throat. When they try to have a bowel movement, that can be dry. They can feel constipated all of a sudden, things like that. The next remedy is called arsenicum album. This is great for when someone gets the flu and they also have diarrhea and vomiting, one of those two or both at the same time. The patients who could benefit from our homeopathic arsenicum album, they feel cold, afraid, they feel restless, but at the same time they feel very exhausted. So they may want to move around, but they're just too tired to move around. This is different from bryonia, where bryonia feels more pain if they move around. Well, the patient that could benefit from homeopathic arsenicum album just doesn't want to move because they're weak, but they feel like if they would move, they would feel a little bit better. Arsenicum album is great for patients who feel better from heat in any form. So heat from a warm room, heat from maybe water that's a little warm, heat from heating pads, they want to get next to the fire, things like that. And then the only time the patient that could benefit from taking arsenicum album, the only way that they benefit from cold is if they have, like, say, a headache, or if they have a hot face, they may actually want to put a cold washcloth on their face or put their head in the freezer to relieve the headache. And the patients who could benefit from homeopathic arsenicum album, they do not want to be left alone. They feel better with company. They're afraid. And then I've got just a few more remedies. The next one is called gelsemium. This is from when a person gets the flu and they feel incredibly weak, sleepy, heavy, dull, lethargic, lazy, dizzy. They can have a heavy feeling, dull feeling in their head. They can have a headache that starts in the back and it goes over into the forehead. They're just tired, they just want to close their eyes feel heavy. They can get chills and shivers up and down their back, and they don't really want to move around because they're just so weak, and their legs may tremble, and they have aching pains as well. The next remedy, Eupatorium perf. This is great when, I actually used this when I got the flu, is when you have unbearable body aches with intense aching of bones and or muscles. It can feel like the bones are going to break. It can feel like the bones have even broke. Just like the last remedy, Gelsemium, Eupatorium perf can get the chills from drinking cold water. The Eupatorium perf, they can also have a cough from hoarseness or tickling in their throat, and then the cough can cause pain in their chest. They may want to hold their chest because of the pain, which the patient requiring bryonia could also have that symptom. The next remedy is called pulsatilla. This is great. This remedy kind of has been, I've used it a few times this season in my practice, and it is good. It seems to be good for a lot of patients. The nose is kind of stuffy in a warm room or just a normal temperature room. And then in the morning, they will get like a discharge of yellow-green mucus that just comes out in the morning, and then it also comes out in the open air. So if you have a stuffy nose inside, you go outside and then your nose starts to run this goopy, green yellow stuff, think about pulsatilla. Dry mouth, but you don't feel thirsty. Overall, they're worse in a stuffy room. Like I said, they can have really itchy eyes since they caught the flu, or maybe they have allergies that are really bad and they feel like scratching their eyes and their eyes get red. And then the pulsatilla patient can have difficulty sleeping for a couple different reasons. They cough at night, and so the cough wakes them up. And then they also have difficulty breathing in bed. And then they can also have the same thought or maybe the same song go over their head at night, and they just can't go back to sleep because it bothers them so much. And the last two remedies, Rustox and Nux Vomica. First of all, Rustox, that is for when, the achiness, the stiffness of the flu, but in Rustox, they also feel very restless. They want to move around. The Arsenicum felt restless, but they're so exhausted they can't move around that much. Rustox, they're going to be moving around. They may want to stretch to relieve pains in their body and in their joints. They feel better from motion, pressure, stretching. They feel better if they take an extremely hot shower or if they take an extremely hot bath. They may, ever since they caught the flu, they may have some cold sores around their mouth. And then also, this is an interesting one, the tongue can be coated white while the tip of the tongue is red. The last remedy is Nux Vomica. These are for patients that are incredibly sensitive to everything since they caught the flu. Usually they catch the flu from getting over chilled, maybe from being outside in the cold, dry winter air, but they feel irritable. There's hypersensitive to noises, light, cold air. They're very, very chilly. They want the patient who will cover up, and even if they move one of their legs, then they get a chill from moving their leg. They're that cold. And then they can be sneezing, have a runny nose, cough that is worse in the morning, and a kind of an interesting gastrointestinal symptom of a Nux Vomica is if you have a patient who is nauseous but they can't vomit since they caught the flu, or they feel like they have to have a bowel movement, but they can't pass the bowel movement, or they can only go a little bit. Nux Vomica is a good choice. Again, these remedies are just for at-home use, or if you're a prescriber, you can definitely use them in your practice. But please, none of these remedies, nothing I say is a substitute for you going to the doctor and getting individualized care if you start to get sick. Don't hesitate. And if you have any questions, you can visit my website, www.drdavidfrederick.com. That's www.drdavidfrederick.com. And I hope you have a very healthy February and March until we make it into spring. Thanks.